Yeah.
And all right, thank you everyone so much for joining us tonight at our monthly Angular event. I'm very excited to introduce our speaker, Mohammed Awais. He's calling from Pakistan to talk about how to supercharge your Angular apps using state management with NgRx. Mohammed is a full stack software engineer working on next generation web and mobile app development technologies for 6+ years. His tech stack comprises JavaScript, Angular, React, Node.js, Ruby, and Ruby on Rails. So without further ado, I will turn it over to him. And thank you so much, Mohammed.
Thank you. Okay, so hello guys, welcome to the meetup, which is organized by NgRx San Diego, and thanks San Diego for providing me the platform to talk about this event management and state management using NgRx. Sorry. So this is Mohammad Awais. I'm a full stack software engineer working at Royal Cybernet, Pakistan. We are working with multiple clients working throughout the world. And for today, for today's technical talk, there's a topic. So it's very cool. It's actually very helpful and handy for every applications we are working on currently right now. So it's actually very good thing. So yeah, for today, actually, I will be talking on supercharge your Angular applications using state management with NgRx. So state management is pretty very amazing topic. And it's been used in very applications in like either they are in the React or Vue.js or Angular kind of stuff. So yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so the first thing, like after this event, after this technical talk, after this event, what will be our outcome? So what will be what we will learn? So after this event, we can do some like we will be able to perform some data manipulations with state management using NgRx as you see in this screenshot here on the slide. So it's like showing the all product listing and the add product form on the right side. So this is actually if you are looking to this screenshot, it's very pretty simple. So, however, like if you can see on the behind the scenes, like how it's been connected to the store and like how it's been managed using the state management. So it's very pretty amazing thing. So let's see ahead. Okay, so the first question about this technical talk, like everyone should have, like it's about is like what is NgRx? Why we are actually learning it? So NgRx is reactive state management for Angular inspired from Redux. So Redux is actually Redux is the very popular state management library for the React.js. So after that state management is super fast and like assume that if we are working on any applications and like it will be taking load time, assume that we are having with a bunch of 100 plus or 200 plus components or modules. It depends on the scope of the project. Assume that there are 200 or 300 components inside every like, bunch of few modules. So assume that I'm now navigating from one component to another and another to another, so on and so forth. So going again and again inside the components, they also may have the API integrations and API calls as well. So for those kind of reducing the API calls and the faster loading of the application and manipulating the data from component to component, so that's actually pretty very handy if you are using state management in your applications. It doesn't mean like if you are using it on the Angular applications or if you are using it on the React applications. So for the React, we have Redux. And for the Angular, we have an amazing library, which is NgRx, which is built over the Redux pattern and with the help of performing operations of RxJS, reactive JavaScript. So yeah, this is all about NgRx. Now the thing comes up, like what is state management and why we are using it. So if you can see, like after using state management in our Angular application, so we are having with the command to manipulate the data or easy easy management of data communication between components. So if you can see, like we are having the centralized store. So the main purpose of state management is we already have an store. So that store is being called from NgRx. That store is like all over the components, all over the component inside our modules of the Angular application, they are solely connected to that store. That means store is the single source of truth from where the data is coming and from where the data is going. So this is all about the thing which is about the NgRx store, and this is the state management. So state management is like simply consists of the data. The data like that exists in every of the component. Assume that inside the component one I have a product listing, and I have a assume that in the component two I have a form which is actually for sending and deleting or updating the data for that product. So both of the components are connected to the store. Either like the data which is coming to the component one on the product listing, so that is also coming from the store. And however, in the component two, where I can update the form and like update the product, add the product, or delete the product kind of stuff. So that is also connected to that store. It means store is a single source of truth which is connected to throughout the component, and it's not regardless like let's suppose I have products data and I can't get that in the another component. So using store we can get that. However, if we are not using state management in our application, so there is not very necessary to use that state management using NgRx or a bunch of other libraries we have. So but the benefit of using this state management is like you don't have to perform many manipulations. Like if we are talking about the decorators or event binding concept. So in the Angular, if I want to send data from parent to child, or if I want to communicate between unrelated components, so I have to make a new service, and that service is being responsible to send the data from one component to another, and blah blah, these kind of concepts. So if you are using a state management, so we have a centralized kind of store from where we can install that all the application data, which is pretty cool and super fast. Okay. Let's talk about some real scenario. Like what is a real scenario for that state management? So in the little screenshot on the right side, you can see like we have an application, and inside that application we have my catalog, my cart kind of component, and inside my catalog I have my application bar. My app bar is representing the app bar at the header we have in the web applications, PWAs, and all the mobile applications as well. And however, my catalog also consists of the list item. Assume that my application is having with the cart count. Cart count is like in my app bar. So assume that now I want to update that cart notifier by clicking off any of the list items. So how can I do that? If I'm not using state management, so we can do that with we can do that with the broadcasters provided by RxJS by making a single service, and that's being responsible to continuously listening for that event. But for what for the other components where I'm taking, like assume that I have a checkout page and I want to show the cart items there. So again, I have to call that service and to use that interactions and all by getting data and sending the data, all kinds of stuff. So now if we are using the state management, so that's actually very pretty simple. So all the data should be connected with a single store. However, my list item, when we click on my list item, any of the items, so from the catalog page, so that should be dispatching an event, and that event is actually been going to the reducer, and reducer is binding that action with the store. So that's actually been updating our my application count of that card. So in this scenario, like this is actually the real scenarios for state management. This is very pretty simple. However, we can get the data from API services, from the backend API calls as well, and kind of other stuff. Like state management is very huge concept to do that. Okay. After that, let's talk about some state management lifecycle, like how NgRx work. What are the things that actually comes up in the front end that forms NgRx? So that's the most important thing. There is an like every library and every framework. Like let's suppose if I'm assuming Angular, if I'm taking React. So like if I'm assuming Angular, so Angular has also their own lifecycle. So every library had its own lifecycle method, the things that forms up that library. So if we are talking about NgRx, so we are having with the store, reducer, action, component, selectors, and some services and some effects. So the main important things comes up with this state management. So there are actually three kind of stuff. There are three things. One is store, second one is reducer, and third one is action. So store I already talked about. So store is a centralized single source of truth from where the data is coming to the components, and actions are the things. Let's talk about actions and reducer a little bit. Okay, so actions are things like assume that I have a component, and as we previously discussed in a simple image of that list item in the cart scenario. So assume that I have a list item, and on the list item click, I want to add that item into the cart and update the cart count. Now assume that that action should be performed or binded on that list item click. So whatever it should, like let's suppose I'm clicking on the list item, so it's dispatching an event. So like it's saying to the reducer, it's passed over the reducer. Okay, that action is about what? That action is about adding that item to the cart. So that the definition of that adding the item to the cart and making the new state from the old state. So that's actually been the work of reducer. Reducer is nothing but it's actually binding the tie of that action and the store together to form a new state. And that's all state, like as you already know, like state is living in that store, and store is centralized. So however, like if you can see, like component is interacted with action right over. So we can perform any we can bind any of the thing with that action. So that action is going to the reducer, and reducer is performing and updating the store with the newer state. However, what are the effects? Effects are being used for exchanging the things for the third party transitions and all kind of stuff, like assuming like if effects are very useful for collaborating with the backend kind of stuff, like backend API integrations and all, which actually require the transitions. So you can also see effects are directly connected with the service here. Okay, so this was all about the state management of NgRx. There is a cool documentation of NgRx as well. You can visit ngrx.io. It's been performed very well. It's been documented, so you can see there all kind of concepts. And okay, so now let's see NgRx in action, like how it will be working. Like I was collaborating, I was sharing the knowledge in the slides. So like it's good to have see some code base, like how it's been showing and manipulating the data in the code base. Let's see the front end. Okay. Okay. Now. Give me a second. Okay. Let's talk about now the NgRx in the action. So the first thing we should have to do is to make a directory folder structure in a good way. Don't confuse about this NgRx directory, which is for simple reducer stuff to maintain the simple kind of states. So however, I made an store directory here. So you can see that store. Inside that store, we are having the actions and models and the reducers. So the models are actually being used. So I will be collaborating the things accordingly. So these are the three directory structures. So we can make a store directory inside that. I should have to make the actions, models, and reducers. So let's talk about some scenario for that screenshot I showed at the first slide. So that's about on the left side. On the left side, we have a listing of products, and on the right side, we are adding the product to that listing. and both of them are connected to the single store. So let's talk about this scenario with this code base. So first of all, I have to do what? I have to, inside that model directory, I have created a model. I've created a model, which is product model, right here. Okay. So inside that product model, what it says, it's actually an interface. We are exporting an interface of product item. And inside that product item, I'm defining the keys like, okay, my product item should be consist of ID, name, and price. Okay, so this is pretty simple interface for the product item I'm making. What is in the second file, and the second thing we have to do is we should have to make a stat model.ts. So inside that models, like this stat model is what? This stat model is nothing but it's a centralized state for all of the things we are using on. Assume that we are having the products, we are having with the catalogs, we are having the checkout, and all kind of states. They should be lie in this single file, stat.model.ts. So you can see after making this product.model.ts, I'm making this inside this state model. So it's been calling from reducer. So yeah, I can show you ahead. So after that model, don't confuse with this state model.ts. So I will be collaborating the things accordingly at the end. So the first thing we have to do is to make an interface for that product item. It's only for manipulating the data, and why we are using interface. Inside the main concept of interface is like, let's suppose my data is coming with 150 plus objects from the backend, and I only want three properties in my object. So I can use that with the I can bind this product item interface with that observable to only get these three keys from the 150 plus or blah 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 count of the object. So yeah. Okay, the second thing we have to do is we have to define an action. So like at the first we have defined the model, product model, and on the second end we have to define the product action. So the action is nothing. Action is coming from NgRx Store. NgRx had exposed the store, and we are using action from that store. Like that action will be that action will be defined from component. So this is all about. And there you can see on the second line, I have imported that model which I've created the first end. So after that, I have to export an product action type, which is inside the type. I'm for now I'm only using adding the item, but in the future I will be adding, deleting the item, updating the item, so all kind of stuff. So for this product action type, they are only they are only a type, or they are only having the okay. So what this action should perform. So this is only written in the product action type. After that, I'm exporting a class which is add item action. So that action type is used in that, and what it should have to be performed, that's actually being dispatched from this action, and it will be going to the reducer. So here we are only having to have to add those action types what we want to do, and inside that class we are making a read-only type for that product action type dot add item above we have created just. After this constructor, inside that constructor, I am actually adding an optional payload. After that, I am exporting that type. So what it should do, it's nothing but only action type and action declaration for them. So like the main work is to do with the reducer. So the first thing is to create a model. The second thing is to create an action, and the third thing is to create a reducer. So here is a reducer. Okay. So both of the things, the model and the action, should be imported here in the reducer on the second and the third line of this product.reducer.ts. You can see that. So this is the model, and this is the action, and this is the action type. Okay. And for the state, like for the initial state and kind of stuff, so we are actually making a product interface. Inside that product interface, I'm telling my product object like, okay, that you should have to hold an array which is with the interface of product item. So I'm only telling this, like I don't have to I don't have to store all of the 150 plus object which is coming from backend on board. I don't have to concern about that, but you only have to store these three objects in this. So this is all about it. And this is the code snippet on starting from line number 11. So this is initial state. I'm making an initial state for to store some product data for now on the initial state. Like let's suppose if I'm talking about the toggling event or all kind of stuff. So firstly, it should have to be false. or firstly, it should have to be showing some of the product. So for that, I'm creating an initial state here. And the main work of reducer is, you can see on line number 22, I'm exporting a function for a product reducer here. And inside that product reducer, I'm passing an state and action. So state management is all about, like, firstly, what store is doing. When you ever perform an action, you should have to pass an state, updated state, and the action you have performed. And then after store, and then after you form a new, then after you have formed a new state, and then state should be saved, stored into that store, centralized store. So this is what about we are doing here. On line number 23 and 24, we are passing state and action. That action is, you already know that we have created a product action file as well. So these two things are we are passing in the post reducer. And after that state, we are having with some switch and case statements. Assume that it says like, okay, if we are action dot type, if we have action on action dot type, so it will that will be performing and switching with those stuff. So it will be, now the first case is if the product action type is not for the adding item. So let's suppose the action is performed from the component on the list item. So it's been checking this case. Okay, so the action will be performing, that action is for that. If that action is for the adding an item, so this snippet will be running, and you can see it's returning the new state in the form of the old state and the new state with the action payload. So this is all about reducer work case. So now we have created our model, we have created our action, and we have created our reducer. Now we can see that how we can see that how we can use in this in our components to live that. So let me. Okay. Okay, inside our component, I'm calling what? I'm calling the product model, state, and the item action. The three of the things I have created. So after creating those, I'm importing that in the I'm importing those in the component where I want to get the product data into, like, add the data in the store. So here I can do that. I have also created a store in the form builder. That form builder is nothing. It's for the just only for the form to store the newer data inside my store. So this is all about, like, for this we are having with the store effect. So inside those effects, I am calling the store.select, which is for getting the products from my store. And for adding the product, you can see on line number 43, which is the add product method that is being binded on the add product button here. So that is responsible for dispatching an action. Like, okay, I have now filled up my form. Now you have to add this data to my store for the products thing. So this is all about. So there are actually three things. Firstly, I have to create a model. On the second end, I have to create an action. And on the third end, I have to create a product.reducer, and that's it. And you are now able to plug and play with those. Okay, now let's take a look on this slide application we have just going through. So as the first initial state, which I was talking about in the reducer, so that's been showing on the first end. Like, the initial state is this. So this product data, all products, is coming from also a store, and the data which I'm submitting from this form, this is also going to that same store. Okay, so let's talk about some it's some book name, like, okay, Angular with TypeScript third edition. Assume that there is a book name, and the price of that book is 400 USDs. And if I'm adding a product, so the whole life cycle, let's imagine the whole life cycle. Like, when I'm clicking on that add product button, so that will be doing what? Firstly, it will be dispatching an action, and that action is written in our action.ts file. Okay. And the second thing is, it will be providing it will be making this action will be going to the reducer. And reducer is doing what? Reducer is making a new state from the old state and the action which is typed, like when it will be performed after the add product. And the third thing, that whole new state is stored in our new store, and this is all. And the thing why it's been affected in all product listing, because all products is listening to that subscribers live. So whenever any change performed to those that is stored, so it will be data will be coming here on the left side. So now let's click on add product. So you can see it's been added to our list. Like assume that I'm using only Angular TypeScript and that book is for $200. So if you can click add product, so that is actually being added to that store. Now assume that I'm clearing that form and I want to add the product. So this is kind of reactive form validation. This is some other concept from Angular. So you can see that as well. So this is all about the live application as well. So I've also created a GitHub repository for that. You can see that, and I've also added this link on the slide, and I will share this link of that GitHub in the chat as well, for the meeting chat as well. So you can see throughout the snippet as well, and it's already implemented with lazy loading and the reactive forms. You can take a look. It's pretty good. Okay. Okay, so this is all about. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us in this event. So I have also shared this slides URL and the GitHub URL here, so you can take a look from here. I will also pass this info in the chat. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing the slides. That's the question we always get. So we already have the answer there. It was a great talk. There's always a lot to unpack with NgRx. So we can open up to questions now. Looks like we already have a question from Cher. And so while I'm about to ask that, but if you have a question after we ask Cher's question, feel free to either put the question in the chat, or you can also unmute and ask your question directly. Cher, do you want to ask directly, or do you want me to read for you? If I don't hear from you in like 5 seconds, I'll just ask.
Sure, yeah, I can ask directly. I was wondering, because like I've kind of used NgRx like currently in the side project that I do. Do you use like the Redux Chrome extension by any chance, like just to check like if like the state is loading or not, or Dashin is like dispatch? Just curiosity.
Okay, it's a nice question actually, Sharon. So the thing actually we are currently doing. So actually in this technical talk, I didn't actually cover that topic. So you are doing the amazing, like it's advanced thing. You like using the Redux Chrome extension as well. So actually, however, in this current technical talk, the thing I have covered is only for manipulating the data in a single store using that only Angular application. Either they are the simple for toggling states, or either it's data coming from the backend. So that's all about.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
One thing I'll just add, just for anyone that's new, one thing I learned recently was that you have to enable the Redux Chrome extension like with separate code. I always thought it was just like on by default, you just had to enable the extension and then you got all the stuff. But there's a little bit of code. So yeah, if you're not seeing those actions, you probably just need that code.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, any other questions? Gemini, it looks like you're talking, but I cannot hear you. Sorry. All right, it looks like Gemini might be typing her question in. While we wait for Gemini's question, do we have any questions for anyone else? Come back to me, I'll figure out my sound. All right.
So it's good to know, like it's first time I'm hearing about NgRx. So I think this NgRx is benefit, like we the other way of like Mohammed was sharing the interaction, we have to create a service, then we have to use get and set method for interacting, for getting the data, and then maybe RxJS like a subject behavior and new subject behavior because multicast. So this is the main purpose, right? Like this, we can avoid it, right?
Yeah, exactly. If assume that we are that's what actually I already said in the talk. Like we don't have to strictly like only the mandatory thing for adding the state management in our applications. However, if you are adding that state management, so that's actually very beneficial for us. What are the benefits? The first thing, we don't have to collaborate and interact with the services which are being created inside that. We are having the getters and setters. So data manipulation is coming from the different kind of sources. However, if you are following this state management, it's actually we are having a single source of truth, and that's actually lied in our store. So we can like get any data inside any of the component regardless. It's very fast if you are compared with the other services. State management is very fast because this NgRx is also built over the Redux. Redux is also working on the commander pattern itself behind the scenes. So that commander patterns implements with RxJS related JavaScript. So that's actually found with NgRx. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we saw some of that speed you were talking about in your demo when you added that product. It was so quick to see it on that left-hand side.
Yeah.
All right, Geminine has her question. She's asking, what is the benefit of using NgRx versus using services to manage state?
The benefit is like if we are using services to manage the state, so it's coming from different kind of sources of data. And however, for the interactions of managing the data, storing and getting, so we have to define that getter setter separately for every kind of. Assume that I have a product, I have a users, I have modules. There are three kind of stuff. So for those three kind of modules or components, I have to create this three single services. And inside every service, I have to implement a getter and setters. So however, if I'm using the state management, I don't have to perform those kind of stuff. I only have to interact directly inside that component by dispatching an event, by getting the data. So it's also been the reusability and consistency of code as well. And if you are comparing this state management with the services, so NgRx is super fast if you are comparing those to broadcasters like RxJS subscribers and behavior subjects and kind of stuff.
And then if you have like multiple people changing data, if you're changing it on the front end and the back end, does NgRx also make that easier?
Yeah, exactly. It's also for consuming the API calls. For that we have effects in the NgRx. NgRx have exposed the effects. So the main purpose of those effects is to interact with the backend services to manipulate the data. And like it's been running at the background of the scenes, and you don't have to worry about. So it's been very efficient.
Awesome. It sounds like you're saying we can do some of that with behavior subjects and other subjects in our services, but with NgRx, we get more out of the box for us. And there's also just more that we're getting than just with a straight service.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Gemini? Yes. All right. Awesome. And then we have another question from Cher. Cher, you unmuted last time. Would you like to unmute again?
Sure. I was just wondering because like I've heard some people using a facade in NgRx, and then they said that could work similar to services. So I just wanted to know what your thoughts about that, and then or like the benefits or pros and cons in between.
Can you please come again, Cher?
Hello. Sorry. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I was just wondering because I've heard people using a facade in NgRx. So just wanted to know what your
Facade is what? I didn't hear about
Are
that.
you saying a facade or like a wrapper?
Okay. I don't. I don't hear about that because if you are using that, I don't think so. Like why we are using maybe it's a client requirement then, because NgRx is pretty simple. Like you only have to dispatch an event with a single line of source by providing an event and a state. And however, you can easily get that with a single line of code, regardless of making services. Like if we are using the wrapper on the NgRx, so I don't think so why we are using it, but I will do a little bit research on that. Maybe that's actually a client requirement then.
Cher, are you talking about when people, instead of injecting the store into components, have services that have like functions around the selectors and the actions in NgRx, and then you inject the service instead of injecting the NgRx store directly?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess, Mohammed, like I guess what are your thoughts there on either instead of injecting the store, making a bunch of services that wrap NgRx?
Yeah, I got that. Now we can do that.
Would you recommend people do that?
Yeah, like after that we also have to manipulate the services, and like they are like we can do that because it's been recommended also, because we are not maintaining the separate stores. We are having either after doing this, we are still having a single source of truth to do that. Like data is coming from the single source and performing that. However, it's been if you want to see your code in a good shape, so you can do that. Yeah.
And then is there any other value that you think a facade adds from a technical standpoint? Thomas is asking. You sort of answered that, but just in case there's anything extra to add.
I don't think so. Like I have to do a little bit. Like I have to do a little bit research on this. Like why what this wrapper is providing differ than NgRx. So we can do that. However, if we are talking about React, so React is also, I was hearing about in one of the React event that like React have provided the context hook. Then after that, people in the bigger applications, they are not using that hook. They are actually implementing that Redux pattern manually. So like there are actually multiple benefits if you are using library on the end. If we are using a wrapper, so we are behind that library one step back. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And then Thomas is asking, what is a good interview question at NgRx? Thomas, do you mean what's a good question to ask people that you're interviewing, or do you mean what's a good interview question if you're being interviewed that you should prepare for? Both. Awesome.
Okay, so for NgRx, the good question is about to interact with the effects in the API call. Like you should have to ask about, because this is a pattern I'm also asking my interviewers as well. So the interviews as well. So when I was covering that topic with NgRx, so actually state management is a very pretty straightforward. Every developer should have to know about this, and there are actually multiple benefits of using that. But the thing is, actually, we are having the advanced concepts of NgRx as well. So let's, if we are talking about the effects which are provided by NgRx, that's actually a good concept. So.
Awesome. Thomas, did that answer your question?
Is it if effect is the response from the API, like service, like observable? Like with
yeah you can you can ask the interview in a way that like assume that you should have to make the two scenarios, like if comparing both of them. One is without state management, by getting the API by getting the data from API call, which HTTP client and HTTP module which Angular provides us. And on the other hand, you can compare the same scenario. You can ask your interview like to how you should have to implement that with NgRx with the like you don't have to say about like with effects. So you have to listen that word from the interview. Like you should have to know about the effects which is provided by NgRx in the store. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Wonderful. Any other questions on NgRx? right. Well, then thank you so much. I am going to stop our recording.
Mhm.